you're a Saints fan. You're going to be mad. But if you go back and look at how the league has been played this year, I've seen worse calls that went against teams from an interference standpoint.
Yeah.
The offensive, listen, it's an offensive league. Mm-hmm. So really, if you look at it, they're not turning around, because every time they turn one around when I watch TV, and I'm sure you see it too, wow, they've only turned around. They've only did call pass interference on 20 out of 100. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not surprised. And they were hand fighting. Now, when it happened, Brandon, I was like, PI.
Yeah.
I was saying, that's PI. But it didn't surprise me when they didn't turn it over.
Yeah, no
at
doubt
all.
about
It didn't
that.
surprise me.
A couple other comments. Nikki Williamson says, my birthday month started off beautifully because of that Saints loss. J.J. Green says he really enjoyed it there as well. Marcus Alexander says, who dat, LOL, rise up. Another Falcon fan enjoying this. Earl Smith saying very much the same way. Samuel Drigger says blue dat, which is kind of the way that Falcons fans have kind of taken that famous Saints cheer and kind of turned it on its side there. Eddie Davis says great weekend by the Pats and the Aints. Going down, could not get any better. So we'll get more of your comments. Let me transition this here for a moment and talk about the Patriots here for a moment, because while Falcons-Saints is a real rivalry and Falcons fans like the idea of the Saints losing, it's actually the Pats' loss to the Titans that had the strongest tangible implications for Atlanta because of the Mohamed Sanu trade. Atlanta sending Sanu to the Patriots with that second-round pick. Because of the early exit in the playoffs, we now know where the Atlanta pick is going to land, 55 here. So you got 3 picks in the first 55 now for the Atlanta Falcons. The 55th pick coming Atlanta's way because of the Patriots' loss. That's a big scenario to pay attention to.
Well, value. The Falcons got a draft pick. That's a starter. I mean, you get the highest value you can. In my book, number 55 is a starter. Even if they got a third round, remember, when you get to draft somebody in the second round, I mean, you're going to feel a great need. So I'm really liking that. But how about New England? What a terrible move.
Yeah.
One of the worst moves I'm sure they'll ever look back when it comes to that position, because he didn't even show up this weekend. Sanu looked slow. You know what I mean? He looked like, again, he's an older guy, not taking a shot at him, but he's a lot better. A lot of guys like that are big guys, a lot better on turf because it's not a mushy grass surface like you see in New England. But, man, I think the Falcons give Thomas Dimitroff and Dan Quinn some credit on moving this, but that's a heck of a deal for the Falcons to get a starter. I mean, you're thinking, you're focused. When you get a guy there, you're talking about a guy who comes in, he's a role player right then, or you should have him ready to, be ready to step in.
No, I think that's true. By the way, our buddy Connor Riley, good help from him to us. We are now live on YouTube. For those of you who tune in every Monday at 1 p.m., we apologize for the technical difficulty there, but we are back up on YouTube now, so you're able to watch us here, as well as AJC Falcons News now on Facebook. Of course, all of it brought to you by Miller Lite, so good to have our YouTube audience joining us here. But your point about second-round picks potentially being starters, especially those first half of the second-round type scenarios, or at least not the very tail end of the second round. So let's grant for a second here that, hey, there's some variance in terms of how good of a draft pick you get. Let's give Atlanta 3 in the first 55, and let's say between either the first round pick or one of the 2 second round picks, you may not get a player that pans out at one of those 2 spots, because no one's perfect when it comes to using their draft picks. But let's say you're able to add 2 starters, give you 2 out of those 3 of the 3 first 55 picks you have. 3 picks in the first 55. Let's call 2 of those like legit starter type players. Imagine adding 2, and you may get a third, but let's just be conservative and reasonable for a moment. Imagine adding at least 2 starter-level players. That's a big opportunity for Atlanta to improve itself. With its first-round pick, with its 2 second-round picks, you really have a chance to do something with that.
And think about this. You have an opportunity to strengthen yourself, and where you got needs, you can there's some corners out there that are going to be great that always fall somewhere towards the second round, even the third round. You're going to have, remember now in the second round, that's where a lot of these big offensive linemen, next thing you know, oh man, we filling that left guard position. I ain't mad at that.
Yeah.
Then there's also going to be opportunities for a pass rusher. Listen, the Falcons did a great job of getting this pick.
Yeah.
Right now, literally, this team could become more complete. Now it's a matter of finding the right guys, you know what I'm saying, and making sure you pencil them in, but also got to coach them up.
Anthony Bell says retirement's going to be the word for both Breeze and Brady. If Brady doesn't play in New England, we'll get more into him in a minute. But he's likely to play somewhere. But in the case of the 40-plus-year-old guys losing over the weekend, hard not to notice the way that athletic quarterbacks really seem to make a difference this weekend. Philadelphia was not the same team when Carson Wentz got hurt, and they had to turn to their own 40-plus-year-old backup in McCown. Obviously, Brady and Breeze are not the same kinds of players that Deshaun Watson are right now. Even Josh Allen in Buffalo is a tremendous athlete at that position. Athletic quarterbacks really were, I thought, the story of the weekend. Not all of them were winners necessarily, but they were all kind of the stories of the weekend, I thought.
Yeah, they were the stories, but from a Brady standpoint, I absolutely don't think he's going to retire.
Yeah.
Definitely when he threw that interception, right then I already knew Brady's not retiring. There's no way in the world this high-performance competitor, who's the GOAT, who wants everybody for the next 30, 40 years, his last play is going to be part of his narrative? No way in the world. So here's what I think. And here's another point. I don't believe that there's any way that the head coach, they will give him the power to get rid of Tom Brady. There's some people that you don't trade.
Yeah.
Again, people I said, well, they traded Joe Montana. Joe Montana ain't Tom Brady.
Right.
Joe Montana doesn't have also the impact of the social media and the world watching. So to me, you got to suck it up. You got to pay this man for one. I'm talking to Brady, pay him for 1 or 2 years and let him go. But because here's my thing, Brady's not washed up.
Mm-hmm.
Brady, there were times where he put the bullet and gunned that ball in there. But who I'm throwing to? Who am I? Edelman? So we just talked about they went and got Sanu in the middle of the season. They brought in an absolute fool in Antonio Brown. They knew it. Listen, they knew that was an earthquake ready to happen.
Yeah.
They knew it was a volcano ready to explode. So in my opinion, Tom Brady's going to come back. They're going to give him 1 or 2 years or whatever that may be. And I think he's going to retire as a Pat. And I think that's how it should be. But I'm getting receivers, and I'm going out and I'm trying for there. Now, one of the things that you got to figure out is why they can't run the ball. Mm-hmm. So to me, one of the things is we got to figure out this Sony Michel thing and figure out part of the storyline now is we ain't got no running game. We still got James White running.
That's right.
But, Michel has not become the weapon to take pressure off of Brady right now. Yeah. That's a big story. He's a first rounder.
Iron Mike on YouTube, kind of funny, says shout out to Agent Sanu for completing his mission, essentially saying he went to New England to sabotage the Patriots. And
they did.
This is one of those things where I think you have to give Thomas Dimitroff a lot of credit. I know that there was a lot of debate about Dimitroff. I've criticized him myself. But we are kind of in an age now where it seems like some GMs are a lot more interested in making the NFL trade deadline be a thing, the way that it has been in baseball for a long time, the way that it has been in basketball in recent years. But a lot of the stuff around this year's trade deadline ended up fizzling without really taking place. It was more talk than it was action. But Dimitroff actually worked one of these moves. Sanu was a player that the Patriots thought they could use right now. Atlanta got value back in response to him. Now, it doesn't make it a good trade because Sanu didn't work out for the Patriots. It makes it a good trade because of the asset Atlanta got back. That second-round pick, as we've said before, has real legitimate value, but it also worked out well for Atlanta on the field, too. It was supposed to be an additional opportunity for Calvin Ridley. That worked out well before Ridley got hurt, but then Gage got a chance to be out there a little bit more, and he got a chance to showcase his wares a bit more there as well. So for Atlanta, the Sanu trade benefits you more than one way. You're able to play other receivers more because Sanu wasn't here. Now you've got the real legitimate draft asset of that second round pick, and we now know it'll be number 55 overall.
Mm-hmm. So let me just do a little quick diagram. Mm-hmm. So you remember what years ago when you got the Peanuts, was it
Charlie Brown?
Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
You know when Charlie Brown used to hold they would hold the football?
Oh, yeah.
And who's the Linus would come, so they would do it, and they would do this. This is the Falcons. They teed it up, then they came to kick it.
Pull it away. Oh, yeah.
They fleeced. Look, they Charlie Brown in New England. This is going to go down, from my standpoint, as one of the best things that I think the Falcons have ever done, because I just know what you can get in that second round. Mm-hmm. It's some dudes, man. I mean, there are really some guys that, think of the guys that are in. Alvin Kamara. Mm-hmm. I always talk about a guy this year who's up for the Rookie of the Year that no one really knew that went in the third round, Max Crosby.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? From Eastern Michigan, 10 sacks.
Yeah.
People don't even know. Double-digit sack guy. He was a third rounder. So when you look at this, he was a third rounder, but so you're looking at second and third round, it's going to be a good thing. I think down the line, and that's a good spot. It's a lot of edge rushers this year in the draft. Not as many big boys in the middle, but it's a lot of good edge rushers this year.
Listen to Rodrell Green on YouTube. I think this is an interesting point. He says that Sanu, one of the reasons why he didn't succeed in New England, at least based on the way the season ends, he needs a guy like Ryan. Brady ain't slinging it like he used to. Brady needs wide open guys, something that Sanu was never good at. It is interesting because Matt Ryan is taking lots of slings and arrows in our comment section for the fact that Atlanta wasn't a playoff team this year. That's to be expected when you're a franchise quarterback. But when you watch Brady this weekend, there's no way I think a reasonable person could conclude that Brady's a better quarterback right now than Matt Ryan is. I don't believe that he is. I think the same thing's probably true for Drew Brees as well. At this stage of their careers, Ryan's the better quarterback than Brees. In fact, if you look at all 8 teams that played this weekend, maybe you start Deshaun Watson over Ryan. You might say that, but I don't know how many of these teams that played this weekend would start their guy over Ryan if they could have him, Tom Brady there included, which I think speaks to what value Atlanta still has when it comes to Matt Ryan.
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying as far as Matt Ryan's concerned. But let me
I'm not starting Kirk Cousins over Matt Ryan.
No, I understand that. But let's go back to what we talked about with Brady, and he's kind of lost it. So to me, I don't see that right now. And to me, we said that years ago, and he came back and won a championship. To me, I got to give him that another shot. I mean, you can't after 1 year. Remember what? 2 years ago, they're the Super Bowl champs.
Right.
Right. Literally, I mean, they're the defending champs till they got knocked out. So now all of a sudden, no one can play. So really, when you look at this team, when you look at New England, do you want look at Carson Wentz? Come on, Brady. I'm taking Brady over him. But let me break this down as far as you're talking about Matt Ryan, Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. Tom Brady ain't got Julio. Tom Brady ain't got Ridley. Tom Brady ain't got Hooper. So I'm not defending Tom Brady, and I'm not even comparing this against Matt Ryan. He don't have a Kamara. He don't have a Thomas. Yeah. So anybody, if we got to be fair to the process about Tom Brady, he ain't got nothing.
Sure enough.
And I just talked about, again, Sony. I love me some Sony Michel, but he hasn't been an impact player. You got James White. You got Edelman.
Yeah.
Who else? So you give, and I believe this, you give him Hooper. Let's just use just the Falcons. I'm not even going to talk about like Kansas City.
Right, their weapons.
Well, actually, Atlanta, the guys I'm going to name are as good as anybody. Yeah. Julio, Ridley, Hooper. And look at some of the other guys. So, look, the Chicago Bears got more weapons than New England. Yeah. Think of the running game. So, to me, Tom Brady, he wasn't playing with – it wasn't even for Tom Brady, I don't believe. But I think he still has some juice. But the guys around him are absolutely not productive.
We'll talk more about Brady coming up. But I think the point you're bringing up is a good one in that New England has always kept its roster deep by believing because it had Brady and because it's had smart play callers like Josh McDaniels and various guys who've been there over the years. Because it has had that, it could always go cheap with the receiver position. It could always go cheap with the running back position and just kind of figure something out because it had Brady. That philosophy definitely caught up to the Patriots this year.
Well, it did, but the thing about the Patriots, they've always tried to get guys. They went and got Randy Moss. They go and get guys, that they think fits the need. But I think, I'm going to just tell you this, a lot of times when you look at some of the guys the Patriots have, I think they're underrated. Everybody, I think Tom Brady's level was so high that everyone else, they looked at, they're nothing. So the year they win the Super Bowl, beat the Falcons, they got just a gang of nobody guys. They played ball, but that year they were about the defense. So, it's tough, man. But, that philosophy, I understand Tom Brady can do more with a little. Well, at this point, they realize he can't. So if I'm the Patriots, I go out and get him some guys. It's okay that I need more. Okay, Tom, at this point, you know what, Tom? You got your kryptonite. You can't do it like you used to. So let's fit things around you that help you. And I'm going to keep coming back to this again now. They can't run the ball. The guy they drafted, and again, the last time I'm going to talk about it was Sony Michel. Yeah. Again, Sony Michel has not been as productive. When he came in there, he's supposed to be Alvin Kamara. He's supposed to be that kind of impact of a player, but even him, you ain't got no receivers. It's hard for Sony to make plays.
It's AJC Falcons News Now, sponsored by Miller Lite. I'm going to take a bunch of your comments here coming up on both Facebook and YouTube. Let me also remind you, as the Falcons head towards the NFL draft, it's a great time to become an AJC subscriber if you have not already. Subscribe.ajc.com/Falcons News Now. That's the website on your screen. When you do, as a special thank you to you, get this officially branded Falcons cooler. The AJC is a proud partner of the Atlanta Falcons. We show that off with these coolers. We'll give one to you as a special thank you when you become an AJC subscriber. Lots of different subscription options to choose from. You can get 7-day home delivery added to the daily e-paper. You can get just the e-paper if you just want to read it on your device each and every day. Or you can get the e-paper plus Sunday home delivery. Lots of different options, whichever one works best for you. The free Falcons cooler is yours as a special gift on that. So go to the website, subscribe.ajc.com/Falcons News Now, and get the most in-depth Falcons coverage available. All right, a lot of your comments here coming up. Isaiah Davis on the subject of Keanu Neal making that comeback, respecting his game. You said this on Friday that you believe that his role in a Dan Quinn defense, if Neal can get healthy and coming off 2 years worth of injuries, man, he's got a lot of recovery time to go through here. But if he can get healthy because of the specific role he plays, in the Dan Quinn defense. You think Keanu Neal's a guy that's got to be back here in Atlanta?
I think he's the glue. I think that free safety and that strong safety, those two positions with him and Ricardo Allen, those are the hammers. Those are the guys that get things set up. But, if they can get Keanu Neal back and get him back, where he's, get a year, hopefully get a couple years going, that'd be great. But as far as it comes to the position, filling that need, I'm not drafting the safety unless it's late. But to me, there are other guys that the Falcons have that I think they can, fill that need. But also you can go out and find someone. Again, I'm giving Keanu Neal every opportunity to come back, right? I've seen guys get injured before and get two, 3 injuries. But, you pray that he comes back, and I'm rolling with him this year. But I'm also keeping my eyes on someone else that's out there.
Lisa Reed on Facebook says, I don't believe Matt's going to be as productive as the mobile quarterback, so our Falcons would be best trying to get another quarterback. So I've been on the record as saying this. I think that Matt Ryan still got plenty of prime productive years left. I think he's your quarterback for the next couple of years moving forward, and you see what happens after that.
However, wasn't he over 4,000 yards this year?
Yeah, big year.
He's good.
However, to go along with Lisa's point here for a moment, while I don't necessarily agree with her that I would replace Ryan with a mobile quarterback right now, if I could get me a Taysom Hill, you better believe I'd do that.
Get you a Taysom Hill?
Someone like
or
that?
Get him.
Well, I guess
you ain't getting him.
Yeah, you're not going to get him necessarily. But in terms of getting a player like that, this is like something out of like an old school era. He comes and he throws the football, he can catch the football, he can run. I would definitely be, and listen, not just Atlanta, there may be a number of NFL teams who are thinking in this regard. I would definitely be looking at the ranks of athletic guys who played the quarterback position, some in college, who could do that. Now, the NFL's tried this a lot, whether you think about like Antoine Randall-El from the old Pittsburgh Steelers teams. This is kind of maybe what Tim Tebow at one point in time was maybe supposed to be. There have been a lot of people trying to find what Taysom Hill has kind of proven to be for the New Orleans Saints. But to go along with Lisa's point, I'm not ready to replace Matt Ryan as a starter, but to bring someone in who could do that Taysom Hill stuff, I tell you what, I'd be pretty interested in that right now. Just based, I know the Saints lost yesterday, but that was a pretty impressive performance in a lot of different phases for him in that playoff game.
You know where there's a controversy at too in New Orleans? Mm-hmm. There are people out there thinking that he can do what take Drew Brees' position.
And then that's why Atlanta.
I hope they do that. I would love to see Tatum them end up putting out. Yeah, everybody's now thinking. I'm sorry, I said Tom Brady, Drew Brees.
Yeah, right.
Right now it's a controversy. I'm telling you, go on social media right now, go on Twitter, you'll see this controversy now because everybody thinks, oh, Drew's done.
Yeah,
let's replace him now. You're involved with high school and college football.
Sure.
What's one of the fastest growing positions that we talk about is what? The athlete.
Right.
So you got wide receiver, you got quarterback, you got guys that are quarterbacks in high school, they call them the athlete.
Right.
You got guys that were that kind of thing. So I love the position. Now, I like the gadget guys, but it's a matter how you use them. So to me, the Saints are using him the right way. There's all kind of skilled guys that can do wildcat, they can line up at tight end. Well, let me ask you this real quick. Now I'll tell you this is a good example of how things are coming from college. Now I'm just gonna go to college, right?
Sure.
The quarterback for Kentucky. Remember the Kentucky, both of the quarterbacks got hurt. This is something I learned. I'm watching this guy. Why is this cat running the ball every time? Why are they running power right?
Converted wide receiver.
He literally ran the ball every time, and he was efficient throwing.
Talking about Lynn Bowden,
Yeah, he was just from a college standpoint. I'm watching him in the ball game. He literally threw the ball 6 times.
He's one of the most spectacular athletes in the sport.
Right.
Because he was a very good receiver before they had a string of quarterback injuries.
Unbelievable.
He ended up playing quarterback for them, and he was almost solely a running quarterback, almost unstoppable because he was just so athletic.
So a guy like that, come on.
That's a good example.
I'm taking him. I'm making him to everything, but man.
Could Jalen Hurts do that? Because I have to tell you, I don't believe that Hurts is a starting quarterback in the NFL because I don't think he had a very good year for Oklahoma this year. Could Jalen Hurts be a Taysom Hill?
I think so. It just depends. He seems tough. But again, everybody built like that. But to me, everything I've seen about Jalen seems like he could be that guy. You know what I mean? But some of these guys, you know what I'd like for him to do? And I think a lot of sports agents, as I know, and I've been around this kind of deal for a long time. Yeah. I know sports agents, if you got a player who's like a Hurts, when you go in there and speak to people, they're first thing they're gonna say, hey, when they interview him, hey, can you play another position? You think you could have play, receiver or tight end? And in the past, guys say, nah, I'm just a quarterback. But now, I'm telling you, these agents now are guiding their guys. I'm sure they're telling them to say what? Yes, because that adds what? The NFL teams want value. They want added value. And the more positions you can play, that would add so much value, and that's what Hill is doing for this next generation of quarterbacks. Much love.
To be clear here, asking Jalen Hurts to change positions is not the same thing as asking Lamar Jackson, because Jackson was a Heisman-level player at that position at Louisville. Jalen Hurts lost his job at Alabama, and really I thought left something to be desired in Lincoln Riley's offense this year, and that's an offense that's produced 2 consecutive Heisman quarterbacks.
I'm not saying change positions. I'm just saying being multifunctional. Right, you're still the quarterback.
Yeah.
Hill looks like he's still that quarterback. But here's my thing: if I'm on a roster and I got Jalen Hurts and he's our number 3, he's our scout team guy, throughout the week, and we can get a play from you. If we can do something like get a RG3, a Jackson, all those guys in the backfield, to me it adds benefits, and I like it because he is a runner. He is a great runner.
Yeah.
So to me, I would love to. And listen, if you're the number 3 quarterback, I know Jalen's like, man, get me in the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
absolutely.
And anything for the team. So I really think Jalen Hurts, me personally, I think he's going to have an opportunity to play and because to me, he reminds me of Dak Prescott. He reminds me of Dak Prescott. He's not as good a thrower as Dak.
Yeah, Dak was a much more accomplished thrower in the college level.
But I think Jalen Hurts can do it because look, after Jackson, what he has done as a passer, I just think, man, this new era with these new offenses, RPOs, I think Hurts can do it.
Let me change the subject here for a moment. Denise Bray bringing up the need to protect Matt Ryan. We talked about this on Friday a little bit too. I'm a big believer that what you have is what you got for right now. I told you I would risk salary cap jeopardy by re-signing, or not re-signing, but by holding on to Alex Mack. When you're looking for salary cap casualties, guys you can cut to get cheaper, I don't think you can look at Mack at being one of those guys right now.
Right.
I think he needs to be back for 2020. But you've also drafted 2 first-rounders in this spot a year ago with Lindstrom and McGarry. Obviously, you look at left guard and you say, I don't know that I feel great about that spot, but you can't have 5 All-Pros at every position. You just can't. I think what Atlanta has along its offensive line, a solid, if not spectacular, left tackle, a veteran center who you really trust, 2 young guys on the right side that could blossom into something, and a big question mark at left guard. For Atlanta now, that's about as good, I think, as it's going to get. That's what you've got to go to battle with in 2020. You got to hope that your 2 picks on the right side a year ago are good picks, because I don't think you can afford to go back high early pick with offensive line again. You've just got too many overall needs.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, let me tell you this. Now, let me just look at one position that I think I might pinpoint, and I might make this move. I'm not big on running backs real high. But to me, that late second round, because there's going to be somebody out there. Because first round, there's only going to be, maybe 1 or 2 guys in the front. I mean, it might only, what's the big year? Etienne from Clemson Swift.
Jonathan Taylor.
Yep. So one of those guys might slip, but right after that, I'm going with the best available right there. So if we ever going to draft a running back high, to me, it's like that 55th pick looks really good, right? But those first couple ones, I got to find the best corner in the game. I got to look at, moving true font. And I'm big on this now. I need somebody. Grady Jarrett right now is one of the top 3 defensive tackles in the game. I need somebody. I hope it happens this way. I hope we can find a guy or someone develops, whether it's Sanat, develops.
Right.
I need that big thumper. I need another dog. You need 3 dogs on the D-line to be dominant, in my opinion. I need one more dog. And you think Grady's a terror right now? Give me another dog. Tack gets healthy, gets ready to roll. Not sure what's going to happen with Vic, all the other guys in there, but I need number 1, Tack is important this year to get healthy and become that guy. But I need one more dog with Grady, or we go linebacker.
Wesley B agrees with you on YouTube. He says, we need a running back in one of those top 3 picks. I'd rather the first pick get in on those stud running backs. My problem with that, though, is because when you start mentioning, hey, big-time defensive lineman, big-time pass rusher, these are the kinds of things that the later you go in the draft, the harder it is to find one, whereas running back's not necessarily that way. And I'm as impressed as anybody with some of these top-level running backs, with the exception of Jonathan Taylor, who's gotten a gazillion carries at Wisconsin. I don't know that he's got enough gas in the tank moving into his NFL career. But with the other running backs, I like them all fine. I just think that's a position where you've been shown to be able to find guys late. But when you want the really good defensive lineman, when you want the really good pass rusher, that to me is a premium position that 1st and 2nd round picks are your really only shot to get those really truly elite guys. And really a lot of that's a 1st round situation, even more so than a 2nd round thing. So I think if Atlanta goes early with its running back, I think it misses an opportunity to draft the kinds of players that you can only draft with top 55 picks.
I get it. But at 55, I'm good with it because that's such an important position. We sit here, we complain about Freeman, we complain about we don't have a guy that can go. You get a guy that can come in here that can run the ball. And look, and I'm not saying get a guy there. I'm just talking about I would have no problem with it because I want to, run the ball. And we keep talking about we got to give weapons. And Matt, we address the offensive line. We got as good of receivers in the game. And the hard part again, as we look back, when we start talking about Tom Brady, man, the Falcons' offensive weapons are absolutely incredible when you think about it, the guys at that position. So that's off the table, right? We're going to re-sign Hooper. O-line is set. Okay, we won't need to worry about running back because we're going to be a primary throwing team. So now, who's the best safety on the board at 16, right? Who's the best D lineman on the board? But I don't want to just go D line because I'm just trying to fill a need. Sure. I wouldn't mind them, like I said, getting a giant, super big old, swole, big booty dude, just big like a hippo next to Grady, so Grady can just go. I don't want him having that responsibility, but
that sounds more like a 3-4 defense, what you're describing.
No, I need not a 3-4. Yeah. I need a big jumbo butt that's in a 4-3 that can just get two steps upfield. Okay. You understand what I'm saying? No. Because remember, so now, in defense, no one plays every down.
Right.
So you got guys that are just still run stuffers. So even in a 4-3, you got guys that play on primary on first and second downs because, most of you guys only play 70% of the plays.
Right.
Yeah.
Sean Jones on YouTube says Quavo from Migos said that Matt Ryan needs to go as soon as possible. He can have Tom Brady's offensive line, still won't be good. Quarterback with that much experience, still locked eyes with the receiver, shaking my head. So Sean doesn't like Matt Ryan, it would seem, and he is right. Quavo said some things like this in social media. On this one, though, I think Quavo's wrong. I do. I think that
Quavo, you need to stick to stir fry, bro. You need to stick to the freestyler, man. You know what I'm saying? He done already yelled out for Trey Young. Luka Doncic, let's hold on. I'm sorry. Let's just stay where we at. Hey, Quavo, you ain't exactly on the winning streak with that.
That is very funny.
I love you, Quavo. I love you.
Iron Mike also brings this point up. As much as I argue against drafting a running back early, I am also sometimes swayed by what I just saw. You know who looked good in these playoffs this weekend was Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry looked really good. Now, finding a running back that big, good luck ever finding one that big again. But he does kind of remind you of, this is what happens when you have an offensive line that plays well, and they played well down the stretch for the Titans. A guy like Henry, it really reminds you of how valuable a big-time running back like that could be. And now, listen, I'm more of the new school variety of, hey, I think this is a league where you throw to win these days. But when you got Derrick Henry, there's something pretty special going on there. He's just making people bounce off of him.
Can I take you back to the old school? Let me take you back to '98.
Yeah.
When the Falcons when we got to the Super Bowl, we had Jamal Anderson literally we'd sit on the sideline and, man, wow, another first down. Yeah. He just kept running. But here's the point. You can run the ball. We had an 1,800-yard rusher, and this is back then.
Yeah.
And also, you can have receivers that go over 1,000 yards. We had 2,000-yard receivers back then. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when you look at what this team has done, they throw for need, but they run the ball. Derrick Henry, absolutely. There's somewhat of a, you're not going to get a lot of teams like this very often. You know what I mean? But I'm just big on, I think the Falcons, I'm getting me a running back that can run the ball at some point, right? So when I'm running the ball, I got a young line. They're knocking people off the ball. The scheme, dirt cutters, doing everything correct. We're throwing deep balls. Defense is shutting everybody down. We won the Super Bowl, right? Am I a little premature, but
got to the Super Bowl, which is an accomplishment itself. But if you want to go back and talk about that '98 offense for a moment, what Jam gave y'all the chance to do was Chris Chandler. You can say what you want to about Chandler staying healthy, but the fact of the matter is when he was healthy, he was phenomenal at executing the play action pass. And Curtis Martin and Terrence Mathis and all those guys were here to take advantage of that. That was a very efficient offense, and Dan Reeves was a pretty good coach of offensive
really
football.
Good line. Yeah, they don't get enough credit.
Right.
We had veterans. Those guys, a lot like this line, but we had a lot of veterans that were really good.
But what that '98 offense had going for it was, Anderson playing almost at an MVP level, but Chandler using the threat of the run to set up the play action. And I know the stats guys will tell you these days that you don't need an effective running game to have an effective play action pass. I do get that. But gosh, it sure does seem like it's a lot easier to make teams respect your play action when the running back's as dangerous as what Anderson was in '98 or what Derrick Henry is for the Titans now. And Atlanta just doesn't have that. Dirk Cutter's not calling running plays. Atlanta's not effective when it tries to run it. And common sense just tells you that makes your play action passing game more difficult to establish when there's no belief in your running game whatsoever, either because you have an offensive coordinator that very quickly abandons the run. There are plenty of numbers that say that about Dirk Cutter, and given the performance of the Falcons running game, sometimes abandoning the run is an easy decision to justify.
Yeah, because but also these teams are scoring points so fast. Sometimes, I mean, you get to the point your defense is a little shaky. I mean, you got to abandon the run. People are throwing it. But I think now the quarterback position is such a premium position. They make so much money. It's on their shoulders. I mean, they get almost all the credit, and, you know, a lot of the blame, right? So it's just the nature of the beast. Those guys are highest paid players for a reason, and running backs are where they are for a reason, because you can basically almost find a guy, not just any guy. You can. There are lots of successful running backs that you pick up in the later rounds. Yeah.
Somebody mentioned the idea. Who was it that said this? On Facebook, somebody mentioned the idea, Marcus J. Williams, of getting Travis Etienne in the second round. I mean, that's the kind of guy.
I would absolutely, you got to get him.
I thought his explosiveness in the playoff game was really pretty impressive against an Ohio State defense that has a lot of guys who will be playing in the NFL. I thought Etienne at times looked like the most athletic guy on that field, one that includes Jeffrey Okudah and Chase Young. I thought Etienne did some things athletically in that playoff game that did not take a backseat to anybody else on that field.
He's fast.
Yeah, he really
he
is.
showed me. I know what you're saying. He is absolutely fast. I love him. If the Falcons could get him, let's go.
Let's do some other comments here. There's a lot more we got to talk about. Boy, we got a lot to do. Actually, we'll get more comments coming up. I want to hit some other stuff here for a moment. It's AJC Falcons News Now, sponsored by Miller Lite, the official beer of the Atlanta Falcons. It tastes great, and it's just 96 calories. This is not a Falcons-related story, but it could potentially be something of interest for the Falcons. Alabama quarterback Tua Tagovailoa announced today that he is that he's entering the NFL draft. He likely has that kind of top 15 type projection here. It makes all the sense in the world for why he would go. I told you on Friday, I thought it'd be a terrible decision by him if he did not go into the NFL draft, and now he's there. Atlanta sits at 16. I don't believe for a second that Tua will be there when Atlanta drafts at 16, nor do I think Atlanta should take Tua if he is there. But you want to talk about a chance to change the fortune of your organization? Let the Chargers sign Tom Brady or feel like they're going to get Tom Brady and have them pass on drafting a quarterback. Let maybe one or two teams that are on the fence about taking a quarterback decide to do something different because of the health situation for Tagovailoa. I think that opens up a situation where Atlanta, and this is a pipe dream, this is an absolute pipe dream. But can you imagine if Atlanta had a chance to pull off a blockbuster trade, bring in a bunch of assets because Tua Tagovailoa was sitting there when they drafted 16? I think he's gone before Atlanta picks. And I don't think Atlanta should have any consideration about trading up. But trading back is always the best decision for a team that needs as many quality players as it can. The chance that Tua might fall is at least something that makes the draft fun for Falcons fans, I think anyway.
Well, I think everybody's going to say that. That's outside the top 10, but I think Tua's going top 5. But let me tell you this, where this thing could get really crazy. If the Cincinnati Bengals at number 1 think Tua's upside and his NFL potential's higher than Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
It could get crazy. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm telling you now. Don't be surprised, and save this, Mike, save this. If the number 1 pick goes to get Tua, Cincinnati, man, they've made some crazy decisions. It wouldn't surprise me if they make the decision, because there's only one guy. Listen, there's only one person that makes decisions in Cincinnati. One, there's the scouting, there's a gang of people. Mr. Brown will make the decision. He's an older gentleman, and he runs. I'm telling you, now, I'm not jiving.
Yeah.
I said jiving. Sorry. I'm not jiving. That's a 7. I'm not in the 70s, dude,
right,
man.
Yeah.
Mr. Brown makes decisions, and I'll just tell you this. I know some good people around the way up that way, and just don't be surprised, man.
So here's my only response to that. Tua is hurt, and when healthy, Joe Burrow still outplayed him this year.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow may be the best college quarterback I've ever seen in person. I'm not exaggerating. I've seen Tua there as well. And Tua, when healthy, can be a very, very difficult player to defend. I know that Tua is going to be impressive in his interviews, and he's going to have a lot going for him in the draft process. Joe Burrow, man, is just something special. And it's weird to see him come into full blossom this year after we all saw him play at LSU last year. And while he was good, he was nowhere near as good as he was with Joe Brady working with him this year. I just think that Burrow's been too good to pass on.
Well, that may be the case, but Ryan Leaf, Peyton Manning. Most people had at one point had Ryan Leaf to go, number one. And when Ryan Leaf, when all that went down, it's a different Ryan Leaf story. And I'm not saying these ones are, it's a lot different, right?
Yeah.
Because Brady absolutely did everything, right? And he's the Peyton Manning. But Brady, Burrow clearly, I keep saying Brady, Burrow clearly had the better year. But all I'm saying is this, man. The NFL, sometimes things get crazy. They're going to do their due diligence. They're going to see if he'll come back 100% healthy. They'll find out the percentage chance as far as they can figure out, will he get injured again? Now, me personally, I'd probably go at Burrow. But I'm telling you guys, now this dude people are going to still take this guy, and I'm telling you, the top 5, and you just never know what can happen at the end. And it's Cincinnati at the top. So
admittedly, I don't think he'll be drafted as high as you do, but I also agree with you that it would not surprise me to see him drafted higher as opposed to not, because I think that his status as a not fully healthy quarterback at the beginning of the season might actually make him more attractive to some teams, because there's a lot of pressure to play your quarterback right away, and for some guys, it's just not a good thing. There won't be as much pressure on Tagovailoa because of that, because he is recovering from a hip injury. I also think that this is a great way to put yourself in a position to have another great draft pick again the following year to say, hey, what do you want from us? Our quarterback was hurt. I think the fact that Tagovailoa is hurt actually makes him an attractive draft pick for some teams.
Yeah, because he's going to be, on the pine. He gets time to recover the whole 9, but it's going to be really interesting, man. You look at what Burrow's done at LSU, look at what Tua's done, and it's just going to be really interesting how much value they have in Tua. Do they believe his upside is so much higher than Burrow that ultimately is an NFL player? It's easy right now, and I understand. A lot of people are not going to agree because they're looking at, wow, this guy, he's incredible in college. Man, I done seen this story before. Maybe not quite as many yards and maybe not as much visibility because Burrow is in the SEC. His team was fantastic. But the big picture, it's going to be interesting because this is going to be a 2-3 year projection of where your guy is. They're not looking at right now. Cincinnati might, but the NFL team, Cincinnati and most of these teams, they're not looking where you're going to be now. They're projecting where you'll be in 2-3 years, like a Patrick Mahomes, like guys like that.
Victor Vashon Phillips says Atlanta believes in Ryan too much to trade up for Tua. Listen, to be clear here, I don't want to see Atlanta trade up to get Tua. I want to see if, in the event that Tua were to fall to 16, Atlanta be able to trade back with somebody else to acquire more draft picks. I think that could be the kind of thing that could change the entire fortune of this organization. For a team that's in kind of a win-now mode, you need to attract as much draft capital as possible to ensure your chances of doing that. And also, I'll say this about the potential future replacement for Matt Ryan. When you get to that point in a couple of years, when you watch the way a guy like Ryan Tannehill played for the Titans, I'm not quite so sure I don't want the next Matt Ryan replacement be someone on a cheap contract for a little while. These big contracts for quarterbacks you're not sure about, high first-round picks that you have to play and you have to invest big money in. I'm not quite so sure when Atlanta is ready to move on, going cheap at that position for a little while. I'm not quite so sure that's not such a bad move for at least a little while.
Well, to me, this isn't a Matt Ryan issue. Let me just speak from this standpoint. At 16, I don't care what team is on the board at that point. I'm looking at Tua and looking at a big picture. Quarterbacks are so hard to find. And I think it's easy for you, we just stay and wait. But look how long the Falcons waited, as far as to find a Matt Ryan. Look at you had Chris Chandler for a few years, right? And in between there, you had all kind of quarterbacks, right? You had the Vic era, and after things happened with that. But look, you want stability, so to me, I ain't got a problem with getting him and Matt. Okay, Matt plays 3-4 more years. Then Tua will be the highest paid backup in the league, but it's hard to find. And when you get a chance to get a franchise quarterback, you got to roll with it and go with it. So if I'm anybody at 16, and unless I got a Garoppolo and I got a guy that's closer on his 40s, I got to make that move.
You see the top 20 picks right there on your screen, where Atlanta kind of comes in on that.
Carolina got him
at 16.
He ain't getting that far, man. Look at all these teams that need quarterbacks. You got Miami, Chargers, Carolina, Jacksonville. Not the Jets, but
I think you're absolutely right.
Hey, the Raiders, let Tua be there at 12. I can tell you this right now. Gruden going to get him.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think there are too many teams that could talk themselves into a franchise quarterback. I think that you're probably quite correct on that. Let me do a couple other things here. AJC Falcons News now sponsored by Miller Lite. We talked about Brady a little earlier. That is the big story around the NFL, though. the fact that yesterday after the game, he could not make any kind of predictions about his future. Bill Belichick didn't want to talk about that. If this was the end, a little bit of an ugly end for the Patriots with Brady in their uniform, but it's obviously been a sterling run now for a good bit. We addressed this earlier. Do you think that Brady plays for New England again next year?
I think he plays with New England next year. I think he starts. I think they're going to try to fill needs with weapons. Don't be surprised if they work it out to bring Antonio Brown back, in my opinion. I think after summer, and when you get the Patriots say we want to bring him back, I think that gets worked out. But here's just saying that this is, but as far as Antonio Brown, that's just in his perfect world.
Sure.
But yeah, Brady's coming back. I think what they're going to do is they're not going to let him go out like that. There's no way in the world. I mean, this comes down to, even if it seems something like really small, when it seems like something small that you do for a player, this is the greatest player of all time. This is the bus in front of your building. This is the guy that's on T-shirts. This is the greatest player, especially since he got 6 rings. The quarterback with 6 rings, he becomes the GOAT.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan has 6 rings. I mean, that's just how it goes.
Right,
but
sure.
Brady, you cannot, and if I'm him, I'm not going out like that in the Patriot uniform. So if I go to San Diego, we know they ain't going to be quite as good. We know that. But if I'm the organization, he's our guy. Some guys you don't get rid of. And I know we talk about everybody said, Joe Montana, they got rid of Joe Montana. So what? This ain't Joe Montana. This is, the only one I can compare this to is really people, we were talking about this the other day, me and my son, about Michael Jordan.
Yeah, it's a similar thing.
Michael Jordan retired though.
Yeah.
Michael didn't get traded. Michael retired and came back. So to me, if they would have let Michael just walk, that's different. Brady's coming back, and I ain't no way in the world I'm finished the season with a touchdown on my neck.
But it's funny that you make the comparison to Michael Jordan. For those of us who are old enough to remember the Bulls era, I think there's actually a different Brady-Jordan comparison that works here, because by the end of the run for Jordan with the Bulls, there was a lot of dissension. Books have been written about this. Who deserved the most credit for the dynasty? Was it Jerry Krause, the GM? Was it Phil Jackson, the coach? Was it Jordan, the elite level player? That Bulls dynasty was dissolving by the end because the egos were getting so big. There's also been some reporting about this with New England too, but the fact that Belichick and Brady likely don't get along with each other very well. Right. And Robert Kraft, the owner, is kind of involved in this too, of you've got all this success, but it's just human nature to want credit for that success. And there's been plenty kind of whispered behind the scenes, written about. Seth Wickersham's done this for ESPN, for instance, that Brady and Belichick don't get along. That Belichick's guy was Jimmy Garoppolo, and that Brady doesn't feel appreciated in New England. Wanted the big contract, the way that a lot of quarterbacks get that. Didn't really feel like he got that. Hasn't gotten the help. We've talked about him not getting wide receivers. So the one thing that may push Brady out the door potentially is the fact that even though he and Belichick has been this great marriage that's led to great success, behind the scenes, they may just not be very happy with each other.
Well, to me, right off the bat, Tom Brady wins. To me, Bill Belichick loses because you wanted Garoppolo. Brady gave you a Super Bowl when Garoppolo was there, right? Or right after, right? Yeah. So there's no debate in there. There is no Garoppolo hadn't proven right now that trade or whatever they would have did with Brady was a winner. So the winner in that is Brady and the owner, right? So Belichick, you get rid of Brady, how do you know you even get a Super Bowl that year?
Right.
And the thing about Brady, the thing that's hard about the Patriots, people don't truly, I mean, their level is so high that people really don't understand the magnitude of just winning one Super Bowl. His one Super Bowl, even if he won one Super Bowl while Garoppolo was there, they win. Mm-hmm. Because you wanted to get rid of this guy, but he wasn't good enough. Mm-hmm. He brought you a Super Bowl. Yeah. Garoppolo ain't did nothing when it comes to Super Bowls. And would Garoppolo have won it? So I don't know, man. But I tell you this, I'm keeping both of them. I'm the owner. I'm saying, hey, you guys can leave, but we're going to try to keep y'all together. Yeah. And it would shock me if Brady said, you know what, I want to try free agency to see if the grass is green on the other side. Legacy means a lot to these guys, and what a great legacy he has.
Let me do this. I skipped over this on the rundown a minute ago. Let me make sure we get this in there as well. There are reports out there that the Cowboys have zeroed in on Mike McCarthy as their next head coach. Of course, McCarthy won a Super Bowl with the Green Bay Packers. And you brought this up a couple of weeks ago. Is it official? Is it done now? Okay, so that's done. You brought this up a couple of weeks ago, and I think this is such an important question to ask. Does Mike McCarthy get Falcons fans more excited than Dan Quinn would? Because the Cowboys, you can make a case because of the prestige, Jerry Jones money, everything else. This was the big job to get. You know, Giants are out there too. That's sort of a blue chip franchise. But the Cowboys is a big time job. Dallas acted quickly to hire Mike McCarthy, apparently believing he was the best coach that was out there. If the Falcons had fired Dan Quinn and hired Mike McCarthy, are people more excited right now than they would be with Dan Quinn coming back? I'm honestly not so sure they would have been. Even though McCarthy won a Super Bowl, this is not a name that moves the needle the way that some other big-name coaches would in given years. I don't know that Dallas is any sexier this offseason because it hired Mike McCarthy compared to Atlanta, who chose to keep Dan Quinn.
Well, I'll just say one word, hope. I think the Falcon fans, or any fans, let's look at it again, in general, NFL, anytime you have a coach that, a lot of people think should be fired, the next guy automatically is going to give them hope.
Yeah.
Because they're assuming it might be different. They're hoping it might be different. So Mike McCarthy gives the Dallas Cowboys hope. Because from Jason Garrett's standpoint, they were like, oh, we've given them enough time. He had everybody against him, the media guys. He had, started having players. But I just think a new coach gives hope. And remember, you got a fan base that just wants to win, so they're going to ride with the star. So whoever's the leader of the star, they're going to ride with him. Now, Falcon fans, I think it'd be the same thing. I think your core Falcon fans they believe in the Falcon more than they believe in the coach, so they're going to support whoever's under that, who's ever under that, the leader of the Falcons. But I think right now people are it's wait and see, as far as Dan Quinn, because I just think people have the utmost respect for Arthur Blank on this decision with Dan Quinn. And I think it's one of those things that when the sun sets on this, Arthur Blank's going to be, either the guy who made the right decision, or it's going to be some question marks there.
Couple comments on this. Victor Vershawn Phillips says, I was hoping that the Steelers coach, he means Mike Tomlin, would have been fired for us to hire him. Now, obviously, Steelers played well down the stretch. They're not going to fire Mike Tomlin, but that's an example of, had Tomlin been on the open market, that's the example of a guy that, would have been a huge hit here in Atlanta. Big star. People would have recognized him. He would have been great during press conferences. Chris Searcy says of Mike McCarthy that he kind of runs a basic offense. Now, it worked to the tune of winning a Super Bowl, but he also had Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback. But Chris's point about McCarthy's kind of the same thing I guess I'm trying to say here as well. It's not like you're bringing in Lincoln Riley in this incredibly innovative new wave offense. You're kind of bringing in what the NFL was a few years ago. And for most Falcons fans, I think they would have been okay with that. But it's not like they're going to be, just rushing into the streets to wave a flag because this guy who a long time ago won a Super Bowl with the Packers is coming to Atlanta. I'm not sure he'll be received that way in Dallas, nor do I think he would have been received that way in Atlanta had Atlanta fired Quinn and made that move.
Yeah, see, but I agree with you, but then I disagree with you on a little bit of this. So look, Mike McCarthy, you bring him in here, you talk about being sexy, but remember this, well, Aaron Rodgers, they had some great years. They clearly didn't get along. But let me throw out a name, man.
Rodgers didn't get along with anybody, by the way.
Right, exactly. So let me just throw this out here to me that it contradicts what everybody says. So now all of a sudden, people are worried about Cutter, it's a dinosaur, offense, and then we're talking about all these other teams. But look at the Seattle Seahawks. You know what their offensive coordinator is? Former Georgia Bulldog OC, huh?
Yeah.
Former New York Jet OC. Brian Schottenheimer was what people hated him, so to speak, at every place he went.
Yeah.
He ran a dinosaur offense. So guess what now? Now his quarterback is up for the Heisman.
Right.
Okay, so to me, Brian Schottenheimer, guys, make adjustments, and sometimes it's the team. Sometimes the team fits the coordinator, and it's not as much about the coordinator fitting the team. So Brian Schottenheimer is the best example, the coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks, when you got Russell Wilson, who's right now up for the MVP. So to me, that contradicts everything. To me, the Dallas Cowboys, it's all about leadership, and I believe in the dictatorship rule. You're going to do it this way, how we're going to do it.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? So I personally like that. So, I like it. Listen, man, why is it that we can get credit for getting better and improving, but coaches can't? Mm-hmm. So you're getting better at your job. Mike's getting better at his job, right? We learned. So I've been canned at a job, right? I got canned on radio job. So what I did is I tried to get better. So it's like NFL coaches, and again, it's the entertainment because we're somewhat these coaches are somewhat cartoonish. It's the entertainment. So we look at them as just entertainment. These guys study. These guys get better too. So I know a lot of people don't want to hear that these guys actually can get better. Mm-hmm. Brian Schottenheimer is the best example. So I believe the same thing can happen at Dallas.
We got to go. Let me do a couple things real quick before we do. Recap the rest of Wildcard weekend. We've talked a lot about the Saints loss, a lot about the Patriots loss. Let's hit the other two games here just real quick for a moment. Let me show you all the scores from the weekend. Texans-Bills is one we haven't talked about a lot. And when we talk about dynamic quarterbacks in this league, Deshaun Watson is still a name we don't mention enough. I'm not quite so sure how much help he's getting from his coach, Bill O'Brien, But in terms of making plays when it mattered late, Deshaun Watson, wriggling away from that sack the way that he did, finding the end zone the way that he does, Deshaun Watson is a special player in this league. I firmly believe that.
Now, I got the perfect fit for him. You've talked about it a few times. Lincoln Riley.
With Deshaun Watson.
Get rid of the head coach of the Texans. He's old school, don't know how to get it done. Deshaun is throwing him on his shoulders. You give Lincoln Riley that guy. You move him on up from Oklahoma going past that Red River there. You know what I'm saying? Come on up to Texas.
That would be a scary, scary proposition all the way around. By the way, Josh Allen, I'm not quite sure if he's good or not, but boy, he's fun to watch. Some crazy plays from him. And the other game we haven't mentioned as much, the Seahawks beating the Seahawks actually beat the Eagles on Sunday.
Brian Schottenheimer, Mike's favorite offensive coordinator.
Michael Carvel, our producer here. Eagles deserve a lot of credit for getting as far as they did with as depleted a roster as it was, and they had their chances yesterday. It'd be interesting if the Clowney hit on Wentz doesn't happen. It'll be interesting to see how that result is different. And listen, people are going to just enrage with Clowney. It should have been a call. There's too many weird non-calls in playoff games right now. Officiating in this league's not very good at the moment. But in terms of Clowney having some sort of vicious hit here, these things happen in football. It should have been called, but it's not like Clowney was trying to kill the guy. I mean,
he's not that guy.
Yeah, he's just not.
I know Clowney personally. Yeah. I've worked with Clowney. He's far from that. I can tell you right now.
But if Wentz stays in this game, this could have been a very different outcome.
Well, that's the story. Wentz don't stay in no games. I mean, that's the story.
Oh, come on. This case is a hit to the head.
What do you mean? Yeah. He tore his ACL. The team didn't win. So I mean, you don't we can't like say that if he's ifs and buts.
Yeah.
Every time he's getting injured. So part of being an NFL player, you have to when we talk about Matt Ryan, what also makes him special? He's never hurt. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the intangible is. I don't know how he wakes up what side of the bed. So if he's getting up on the left, it's time to get up on the right. But to me, you are accountable for being injured, even if it's not your fault. He's not there, and he's paid to be there. So bad break, really.
Let me do this as well. Look ahead to this upcoming week, and we'll talk more about these games on Friday. But the two divisional round games, Vikings, 49ers from the NFC, Titans, Ravens from the AFC, then Texans, Chiefs, Seahawks, Packers. We've never had 5 versus 6 in the NFC Championship game, but I think there's a decent chance, at least some chance, that both road teams win this weekend, and we get the 5 seed, 6 seed matchup between the Vikings and Seahawks in the NFC Championship game. I think there's at least some chance of that.
Both home teams are going to win.
You think so?
Traditionally, if you go look at the stats, the teams that are waiting to get the bye win the games. Traditionally, if you go look back over the last 20 years, and we'll go to PFF or CFF or whatever,
right.
Go look at the percentage of the teams that have the bye. History will show that for the most time, the teams at home win the games.
If I give you most likely to make the Super Bowl, Baltimore are the other 5, or I guess the other teams involved. You taking the field right now, you taking the Ravens. Are the Ravens this much of a favorite to make the Super Bowl, or do you think there's a strong case to be made for another team?
I believe there's someone in the field, but I'm not saying that the Ravens can't win it.
I understand. I understand.
The Ravens aren't guaranteed to win it. I mean, Jackson's having a magical year. To me, think about this when the Falcons got to Matt Ryan. Is this the greatest offense of all time?
Yeah.
I mean, think about that.
It's a lot of hype.
So, it's a lot of hype. I mean, they right now have shown, to me, this is what the Ravens are. We've shown that we got the muscle, and we've shown that we have the new scheme to win it all.
Yeah.
But everybody else in this entire field, to me, they got the same opportunity.
All right, come back Friday. AJC Falcons News Now, sponsored by Miller Lite. We'll talk more draft. We'll talk more playoffs of the weekend. No telling what will pop up around the league between now and then as well. So we'll see you then. Tell your friends, Facebook and YouTube, 1 p.m. Eastern for AJC Falcons News Now, sponsored by Miller Lite. Y'all have a great week. Great start to your 2020. We'll look forward to speaking to you then.